good to see you in video land, fourth grade. Today is Monday, April 20th. Are you happy it's Monday? I hope you had a restful weekend and you're ready to work. Okay, let's do a 5-minute warm-up together. We're going to write equivalent fractions for the following fractions: 1/2, 1/4, and 1/5. Now, let's say for my equivalent fraction for 1/2, I want my denominator to be 10. What do I need to do? Well, I see that if I multiply my 2 by 5, I get 10. So whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So I have to multiply 1 by 5, and my equivalent fraction of 1/2 becomes 5/10. Let's look at 1/4, okay? How do I get from 4 to 100 in the denominator? What do I multiply by? If you said 25, you are right. 4 times 25 is 100, and whatever I do in the denominator, I have to do in the numerator. So 1 times 25 is just 25. So 1/4 is equivalent to 25 hundredths. What about 1/5? How do I get from 5 to 10 in the denominator? I have to multiply 5 by 2 to get 10. And whatever I do in the denominator, I have to do in the numerator. So 1 times 2 is 2. Okay? Now, this is what we have so far for our equivalent fractions. 1/2 is 5/10. 1/4 is 25 hundredths. 1/5 is 2/10. Okay? Now, I'm going to just enlarge my video screen so you guys can take a look at what I'm writing on my board. Okay, so let's write in this place value chart where we put 5/10. Okay, so 5/10. So I got to put a 5 in the tenths column here. And so here I would put a 0, and this represents 5/10, 0.5. What about 25 hundredths? Well, I know in my hundredths, okay, can I put 25 like this? No, because my highest number in my place value column is a 9, okay? But what I can put here is a 2 and a 5, and that becomes 25 hundredths. Okay, and I'm going to put a 0 here. So 25 hundredths, my decimal is 0.25. What about 2/10? Yeah, I have to put a 2 in the tenths column here and a 0 here. 2/10, my equivalent decimal is 0.2. Like so. So that means 1/2 is in decimal form 0.5 or 5/10. 1/4 in decimal form is 0.25 or 25 hundredths. And 1/5 is in decimal form 0.2 or 2/10. Okay, let me just minimize my video screen so you can see. Alright, so now we're going to express fractions as decimals. We're going to practice more. So let's look at this example here. Express the fraction 1/5 as a decimal. Okay? So the fraction 1/5, okay? You might want to draw something like this, okay? Where we see, look at the top here, model here. Okay? So there's 5 total parts, right? Okay, and each part here, this is from here to here, that's 1/5. From here to here, that's 2/5. from here to here, that's 3/5. From here to here, that's 4/5, and from here to here, that's 5/5. Okay? So at the beginning of this model, okay, is 0/5 here because there's nothing. We're just starting here from the model. Is 0/5, okay, which is equal to 0. Let's go all the way to the end of the model here, which is 5/5. Now 5/5 is the same thing as saying 1/2, right? Now if we want to draw a number line with decimals, 0/5 is 0, so I'll start my 0 here. And then all the way at the end is 1, which is the same thing as saying 1.0. What's halfway point between 0.0 and 1.0? It's 0.5, isn't it? So that means between 0 and 0.5, I need 5 parts. From 0.5 to 1.0, I need 5 parts. Okay, so I'm going to try to draw it on here. Okay, let's see if I can draw it. I'm gonna first draw it kind of a little bit further back, and I'll put my board up closer. Okay, let's see. So that's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5. Okay, and I'm gonna do it on the other side here. Okay. This is 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1.0. Okay, so now the question asks, okay, express the fraction 1/5 as a decimal. Okay, so then now I'm going to look at my bar model that I drew, and on top of my bar model, I just kind of showed where my fractions lie. So 0/5 lies here at the way beginning of my bar model, because it doesn't account for any part of the bar model, right? Because it's the starting point. Now from here is 1/5. Oh, and that's where I want to know my decimal here. So from here to here, what is that? What's my decimal there? Let's see, this is 0.0, 0.1, 0.2. Ah, this is 0.2. Okay, so 1/5 is equal to 2/10, or 0.2. Okay. Now, there's another way to do this. Okay. And this is the way that I prefer. But you can do it either way that is helpful to you. Okay. So if you look here, okay, it's kind of like what we did in our warm-up, right? So basically, when we look at our place value chart with the decimal, I know how to write decimals if my fractions, my denominator is in tenths or my denominator is in hundredths, right? So that means my denominator is a 10 or my denominator is 100. If I can change my fraction to have a denominator of a 10 or 100, I can easily write it as a decimal. So let's look at the same. Let's look at the same fraction, okay? 1/5, okay? So now I can make my denominator a 10 or a 100. I'm gonna choose 10 because although I can make it 100, I'm gonna first always try 10 because it might be easier for me to multiply this denominator by a number to get 10, okay? Because I see my denominator is a 5 and 1/5, okay? So 5 to 10, what do I do? Well, I gotta multiply 5 by 2, and I get 10. And what if I do in the denominator? I have to do in the numerator. So 1 times 2 is 2, and so 1/5 is equivalent to 2/10. And again, if I write 2/10 in my place value chart here, okay, I would have to write it here. Okay, so 2/10 is here. 2/10. and then I would have to put a 0 here. And so 1/5 is my decimal 0.2, or in word form you have to say 2/10, like so. All right, let's do some guided practice. Please do numbers 1 and 2. Wait, it's not closing very well. Please do numbers 1 and 2, and pause the video. I will see you soon. Hey, how was it? All right. So let's take a look, okay, at number 1. So 1/4, they already give it to you as 0.25, okay? You can also see that 1/2 is equal to, so if you look at the bar model there, 1/2 is equal to, I see that it's pointing down and is equivalent to the number line of 0.5, right? At that point, the decimal number line. Now what about 3/4? 3/4 is equivalent to what decimal? Well, it's right in the middle between 0.7 and 0.8, okay? So here, okay, I wrote 0.7 and 0.8 on a number line here, okay? Now, I know that 0.7 is the same thing as saying 0.70. And here, I know 0.8 is the same thing as saying 0.80. Okay. So then what's my mid-halfway point between 0.70 and 0.80? What's my halfway point between 70 hundredths and 80 hundredths? 75 hundredths, right? And we write that as 0.75. Okay, so like this. So that's why 3/4 is the same thing as saying 0.75 or 75 hundredths. Okay. Now let's look at number 2. Okay. Number 2, express 1/4 as a decimal. Well, interestingly, they already gave us the answer number 1, right? 1/4 is equal to 0.25, okay? But for us to go and put it in here, okay, let's see first, okay? Remember, we can easily write a fraction into a decimal if we can get the denominator to be a 10 or 100. If we write an equivalent fraction for that fraction with that denominator to be a 10 or 100, because on our place value chart, we know that if the denominator is a 10, then we write the value, the number here in the tens place. If it's 100, then we write the value here in the hundreds place. Okay, so we can easily convert a fraction into a decimal if we change our fraction into an equivalent fraction with tenths or hundredths. Okay, so let's look at 1/4 a little bit more carefully. Now, first I'm going to try 10 because 4 is pretty close to 10. Okay, now 4 times a number, can it get to 10? Let's see, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. No, I can't get to 10. So I have to try to get it to 100, okay? Well, I know I can get to 100 because 4 times 25 is 100. And whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator here. 1 times 25 is 25. Okay? So 1/4 is equivalent to 25 hundredths. And 25 hundredths, if I write it in here, it'll be 25 hundredths. So it would be 0.25, like so. Yay! I have a feeling you guys are understanding this. Yeah, so, oh, good job. Alright, so now we're going to express improper fractions as decimals. Do you remember the definition of an improper fraction? It's when the numerator is greater than the denominator. So let's look at this example. We're going to express 5/4 as a decimal, and I'm just going to make my video a little larger, okay, so you guys can see my whiteboard a bit more clearly. And let's see, so first to do this, okay, 5/4, what does that mean? Well, I know if it's an improper fraction, I can write it as a mixed number, okay, and how to write it as a mixed number, okay? Well, what I gotta do is some long division, okay? This is a recap from before. Okay, this is what we learned. So 5/4 is the same thing as saying 5 divided by 4. And so let's take a look over here on how to do it. Okay? So let's see, 4 times what gets to 5 or close to 5? 1. 4 times 1 is 4. So now I'm going to subtract 4. Okay. And then that'll become 1. Okay. Now I have a remainder 1. Okay. Now this can be written as 1. This is my whole, right? So that can be written as 1. And then my denominator is 4 because that's what I divided by, and my remainder is 1. So this is the same thing as saying 1 and 1/4. Okay. 5/4 is the same thing as saying the mixed number 1 and 1/4. So I'm going to change my improper into my mixed number, which is equal to 1 and 1/4. Now this is equal to 1 whole plus my fraction 1/4. Right? Okay. And hey, we've been learning what 1/4 is as a decimal. Do you remember from our example before? Or I think it was from our guided practice. 1/4 is 0.25. So this is the same thing as saying 1 plus, and what's my decimal for 1/4? 0.25. And so 1 plus 0.25 is 1.25. Over here. So 5/4 is written as 1.25. And that's what they did over there for you. Alright, you're going to pause the video and try the guided practice on your own, okay? Alright. Okay, welcome back. So let's look at guided practice number 3 first. It says express 8/5 as a decimal. Okay? Now 8/5, they broke it apart for you, is equal to 5/5 plus how many fifths? That is 3/5. Okay? Because I know that 5/5 plus 3/5 is equal to 8/5. Now let's look at 3/5 more carefully. Okay? 3/5 is equivalent to, so I'm going to change 3/5 into a decimal because I see 5/5 is 1 whole, right? But I want 3/5 as like a decimal. So how do I do that? Well,